Redditors dating a twin. What's it like? Do you find yourself attracted to the twin in the same way? And if so, how does that affect the relationship? My grandpa originally asked a girl out who was occupied, but her twin accepted. When I was 9, I was best friends with twins Xavier and Fabian. One time we were playing hide and seek and me and Fabian hid and ended up kissing. He automatically became my boyfriend because of childhood logic. Fabian let Xavier pretend to be him to kiss me. They thought I couldn't tell the difference between them. This went on for a really long time, and now that I think back on it, it must have been so weird for everyone around us because we were all so obviously in a weird three-way relationship that everyone refused to acknowledge. I knew someone a while back who asked triplets out on dates. He asked out one and got rejected. So he asked the next one. She also declined him. So he went to go ask the third. However, he got them mixed up and asked the second one again, who said no again. Finally got around to the third and asked her on a date, where she also rejected him. That's the story of how a guy I knew got rejected by 3 sisters 4 times. My sister's husband has an identical twin. They were all best friends in college. She never had an issue with that. In fact, when you end up knowing them for so long, you can definitely tell them apart. Even I can tell them apart. Both brothers are married with kids. And they are all just a really close family. Fun fact. If cousins have a pair of identical twins as their fathers or mothers, mom is identical to aunt or father is identical to uncle, the cousins are genetically half brothers and sisters. If both sets of parents are 2 pairs of identical twins, the cousins are genetically brothers and sisters. In college I dated an identical twin. They were inseparable and even lived in the same dorm room. They were both very attractive but seemed to have limited success when it came to men, hence SCRPing the bottom of the barrel with me. A month or so and I found out why. Neither of them were very easy to read in an outgoing sort of way. And they were impossible to tell apart. When I would bump into one of them around campus, I wouldn't know if it was the one I was dating or not. They wouldn't really give any indication, so I found myself frozen in how I should be acting to them. They probably thought guys weren't interested in them at times, but it just became too confusing to choose the appropriate social response in situations where just one was there. Yes, I was attracted to both of them to answer the question, but they should move to different cities and they will likely have better success at carving their own path. You should have drawn on one of their arms with a marker. I've been dating an identical twin for a while. I think my BF is super hot. So I guess his brother objectively is too. But their personalities are different. So it's not something I ever think about. Because I'm only in love with the one. It is a little weird though. Their voices are the same, so sometimes when they're together I hear his bro talking and expect it to be him. I dated a twin in high school. They were almost totally identical. But to me I always could tell them apart. Even on the phone when everyone else couldn't, I could somehow tell who was who. To me they were totally different people. She eventually passed away from an eating disorder about 10 years ago and I can't stand to see her twin since. I'm afraid too many bad memories would surface as she was always the one that got away. Hello. Not dating a twin. But I'm a triplet. So I watch this all happen to my sisters. We look ridiculously similar even now as adults, though my sister now has dyed her hair blonde, so I'm sure that will stop some confusion. Sister number 1 is still dating her high school boyfriend. He is dumb as a rock and still can't tell he's attempting to kiss me. Sister number 2 and not his GF. He regularly calls us by his GF's name. And can't seem to figure out that I wear glasses and neither of my sisters do. However, they've been together 4 years and still seem to like each other. So I guess it's working for them. Sister number 2 now dates around. I have been asked out as her too many times to count. Sometimes I'll let them know they've got the wrong girl. And sometimes I just tell them I'll get back to them. Sister number 1's boyfriend knows what he's doing. My soon-to-be wife is an identical twin. Her sister lived with us for a bit a couple of years back, which was interesting. They share each other's clothes, which has led to a couple of incidents, but they're understanding, haha. Their personalities are pretty different. And I'm pretty sure I've chosen the right one. Been together nearly 7 years. I'm pretty sure I've chosen the right one. Not attracted to the twin. Partly because I find his personality a little obnoxious, but also my boyfriend has bigger arms and shoulders, more freckles, and has dimples when he smiles, all of which I find more attractive. It doesn't affect the relationship. Except when we were first dating, I found it harder to tell them apart. I went to see my boyfriend at his house one night and knocked on the door. I thought it was his brother that opened the door. I said hey and went to walk inside, so when he pulled me on for a kiss I was like WTF. It was super early on, so he thought maybe he had been too handsy or something, and I just couldn't bring myself to say sorry. Thought you were your brother. Only twin story I have is about identical twin brothers who hated each other and dated the same girl at various points. The one she was currently dating freaked out because he found out we were hanging out with his brother. I had no idea about their relationship. Brother she was currently dating kicked in the app door with a knife to kill the twin. We locked ourselves in the bedroom and called the police. It was fking crazy. Years later, I bumped into her little brother. Apparently she married the one who pulled the knife. Edit. I know this isn't exactly relevant, but it's probably the only time I'll be able to tell that crazy story. Oh. And I was 17 when all that went down. I dated a twin briefly in college. Nothing ever came of it. Then her sister started flirting with me. I figured, nah, that would be creepy to ask her out, so never did anything about it. Years later, I'm talking to someone who used to be their roommate. He tells me they used to share boyfriends. Cartman, damn it. I'm a twin, and it doesn't affect the relationship. But my girlfriend nearly didn't get with me because of it, cause she's scared that she'd get in the wrong bed if she was drunk. I told her that I have a much bigger dick, so if that happens you'll know straight away. Lol, telling people my dick is a lot bigger than my twins is always my go-to when they ask if we're identical. He's a boy. I want to hear from the person who married the loser twin. Everyone here feels like they won twin gold, and that can't be the case. My brother-in-law once stood in the kitchen watching me cook. First he asked if I was making a cake. Then he told me he liked the way I handle meat, and said I always knew I married the wrong sister. In response, I grabbed the honing steel out of the knife block and just stared at him silently while I honed a large carving knife. They look the same. They have different personalities. They are both unique. I would rail them both. My wife is a twin. They are identical, but I refer to them as Arnold and Danny from the movie Twins. My wife is the Arnold. She did swimming in high school and to this day still has a more muscular physique. Her sister is much skinnier but has so many health problems. Add to that, they have much different personalities. So I married the better twin and just don't have that much attraction to her sister. I mean, they are still identical. To say I didn't find her at all attractive would be a lie. That said, the first time I accidentally said that my wife was the better twin, my wife was ecstatic. I think that in her opinion that is the sweetest thing I have ever told her. I married one, and the other lives on the other side of the country. So the only times we really get to see her sister is on major holidays. It has messed with me maybe only twice in the 14 years of marriage. But yeah. I dated a twin when I was in high school. She was pretty cute, but I was not at all attracted to her twin. I was friendly with her twin and we'd hang out at school sometimes and chat. But at the end of the day, the fact that he had a penis was kind of a deal breaker. My older brothers are twins. One of them was married and the other was not. However, they are very close and they went to school together, so my brother's wife knew him very well. My brother's wife had to have a procedure done under anesthesia, and for some reason her husband couldn't pick her up. So his twin picked her up from the doctor's office. Well, in her silly state she was convinced that the twin that picked her up was her husband, and was very upset when he would not kiss her. etc. He got her back to her apartment where she was inconsolable until her husband came home. He tried to console her but she was convinced that he was a twin. So she had them switched and was freaking out. Eventually they got her to go to sleep and when she woke up it was all sorted out. When we would all hang out, my partner, their twin and partner, they would remind us both that I was dating the ugly one. Yes. The one I was dating has significant scarring, face, torso etc. But the nastiness from the other twin, for me at least, made them much uglier and me luckier. For a wee I thought this meant your twin. I've had some exposure to twins as a former romantic interest was an identical twin. Also, my Bill is an identical twin. While they're extremely similar, they are also so radically different from each other that I can understand how a person can find one attractive while the other not. Getting to know them, you'll learn how much of an individual they are from looks to sense of humor, temperament, intelligence, interests, and so on. I dated a girl in college with an identical twin sister. They would visit each other a lot and tow the BFs along, so I got to notice their differences clearly after a while. That said, their attitudes and personalities were pretty alike. So I could just as easily have dated the twin. My GF asked me if I was attracted to her sister too and I was truthful and said yes. She was just fine with it, seemed happy even. Her twin was and is a huge part of her life. My girlfriend's twin is male but they look really similar. I'm bi. It's a little confusing. He's kind of my type but I feel nothing for him. Partially because it's awkward that he's related to my girlfriend but also because he's kind of a dick. Currently engaged to a twin. They aren't identical, but look quite similar. The other twin was actually into me shortly before I started dating his brother. I used to think they were both pretty handsome guys. But as I started dating one of them and getting to know the other one better, mine became infinitely more attractive. He's smart, considerate, and thinks before he speaks. His brother has a big heart, but has zero common sense and doesn't know when to keep his mouth shut. Not cute. My experience is actually kind of the reverse. I went to university with this guy and I was never even remotely attracted to him at all. I didn't meet his twin until a year later and when we were introduced I felt an instant spark and was insanely attracted to him. We then dated for a few months afterwards. I married an identical twin. We met in college. It was at least 6 months before I met his twin and even though they are identical, I've never had trouble telling them apart. I've never been attracted to his twin especially since their personalities are slightly different. I have a twin brother. My ex-GF from years ago slept with him to get revenge on me. Honestly I was more happy for my twin to finally get laid than I was pissed at her. I'm just glad he realized extremely quickly she's batch T nuts. If you're with a Megan with an H, they crazy. Wise words of Drake and Josh. I got caught f-king my ex-girlfriend's twin. I'm a twin dating a twin. We are not attracted to each other's twins. My wife is a fraternal twin. Her sister is decently hot. They both tend to roll their eyes at me a lot when I suggest threesomes. I'm like super close to wearing them down though. I'm pretty sure. I slept with a twin a few times. Met her through a workmate who used to date the other twin. They were on good terms and occasionally banged as well. After me and first twin slept together, my workmate started asking all these questions. What things looked like. She did this and that. Turns out they were quite the same in bed and with very similar physical attributes. As for the case of attractiveness, the one I was sleeping with would get pretty freaky but only when we were alone. The other was a stripper and posts lingerie pics on her Instagram. So I kind of found myself being attracted to her as well. But like someone else mentioned in this thread, same physically, completely different personalities. I once dated an identical twin. And I am an identical twin myself. And it was never an issue. I didn't have trouble telling him apart from his twin. And even if I did have trouble, he and his twin had different enough personalities that I wouldn't have wanted to date his twin anyways. The reverse was true as well. I'm a twin who is married. I've asked my wife this. A little background. Me and my brother are mirror image twins, which means we are completely different people but just look the same. She hates my brother. Can't stand him. He's a womanizing, manipulative control freak. The exact kind of person she hates the most. She also says she's not physically attracted to him because he is a long-time heavy drug user and he is starting to show it physically. Does he have a goatee? Because that seems like it should be a requirement for an evil twin. I am a guy and I am certainly not attracted to my girlfriend's twin brother. This thread has potential. I did not date a twin but my cousin did. Personally facial I couldn't tell them apart. From the back I always got their names right. Got to the point where they noticed and started testing me. Bias 100% correct every time. Had a SZL relationship with a girl who had a twin. They're both beautiful. You are asking someone to FCK their sibling after all. A friend of mine named Bill is a twin. The way that Bill and his brother distinguish themselves from each other is that Bill has a beard, while his brother doesn't. Once Bill tried shaving his beard, but his wife made him grow it back. She said kissing clean shaven Bill seemed too much like kissing her brother-in-law instead of her husband. Story number 2. In college I was briefly interested in a twin, until I asked her out and she said no. Then I moved on. But I do remember that she and her sister, although they looked identical, were very different in personality. 1. My crush was a theater nerd. Her sister was a biker chick. I probably wouldn't have been interested if I'd met the biker first. Affect. My ex is an identical twin. We have a child together. I am curious to see how she will look compared to her cousin, who is genetically a half-sister, as she gets older. Hey, one of the weirdly specific questions applies to me. Kinda. I am dating a fraternal twin. He is much hotter than his brother. Even though they do look really similar. I do find the twin objectively attractive but he's got a lot of emotional and mental issues. And is otherwise generally insufferable. He also isn't gay, or won't admit it. So there's that. Never dated a twin but in high school I once sat beside one in math and the other in science. I could not tell them apart till that semester. One took a bit more effort in how he looked. Styled his hair every day. Had a bit more muscle. Had a lot of confidence. The other just seemed weaker and less put together. The two had surprisingly similar personalities but the confidence of the one made him a lot more attractive than the other. Sorry Michael. I dated a twin before. She didn't like it when I took her twin sister to see a movie. Though. They were identical. But one was a bit hotter and funner personality. Both. I dated a twin a long time ago. But I only met the other sister a few times. Sure, I would have loved to smash both. But being attracted to unavailable women is kind of my MO. So it wasn't a big deal. Mistake, I dated a twin boy.